Saturday, the 25th of May. Two faiths, two different perspectives. One origin, Ethiopia. Ras Adonis, Rabbi, Lion of Judah Society. The faithful of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. A scholarly discourse on the subject. Who is the Lion of Judah of Revelation chapter 5? Get your tickets today.
Prosperity is a herbal remedy that has been naturally designed to nourish the prostate gland. Prosperity uses a combination of leaves, roots, and barks to create a tincture designed to nourish your prostate gland. It also will assist in prostate-related issues such as erectile dysfunction, swollen prostates, and problems related to the passage of urine. Call or WhatsApp 728-8289, 728-8289 and get your bottle today. Prosperity.
Exactly. And I think, again, the whole concept of the Ethiopians is really where this is coming in. And the Falashas as well, that's another, the better Israel, that's another angle that some people will come from as it relates to who? The true Jews. So I'm not going to say too much. I heard King Anko Madrid coming in there, so maybe we could start, my brother, with you this evening, and then I would like to hear, to be honest, Rasta Adonis Tafari perspective on this, because this is a subject he covers in depth for many years. And then, of course, we have Cypher Selassie as well on the panel. And I do expect Ras Lazai, Ras Eisern, and probably Ras Kwamai to come in this evening. So I will leave my introduction there for now, and I will just bless up the one, Anko Madrid, to take over the proceedings. My Lord.
Give thanks, my Lord.
I disappear off camera for a moment. Please excuse me. I'm right here.
Yeah, man. Well, give thanks, Well, most times in the program, others end up say less, and what happens is by design too, because
True.
As far as I understand, the man them senior tie, so I have to give deference onto the ancients then, you know what I mean? And then too, they have a next thing they say, when you keep your mouth closed, they don't know if you're smart or if you're dumb. You understand? So in time I might try to preserving my intelligence or preserving my stupidity by staying a little quiet, you know what I mean? But when we talking about the origin of the Jews, the people called Jews or Israelites, the main book would bring up this topic and thing is obviously the Bible, you know what I mean? And then the Bible have certain narrative about the origin coming from Adam and Eve and them kind of thing there, whatnot. When you come into the secular historical kind of record of the thing now, you come like some people have the theory about the Hyksos from in around 1500 BC, and then but the one what I find now was seem more likely and more accurate somewhat, okay, or more plausible is the followers of Akhenaten. You understand? Where Akhenaten now he had a kind of monotheistic religion concept in ancient Egypt. And then after his time now, it then up had some people, like when they switch back to the original tradition, the people who was following that cult and that trend, they end up get exiled out of the land of Egypt now. You understand? They get exiled. And I believe they say on it have a stele called the Moon and Pata stele, where they just make mention of Israel. Right? Now some people will say, well, it's Israel, it's saying on the stele. But then our next brethren in our reasoning on the internet who I see the brethren named Tehuti, right? Who's come with spider on his head and all kind of thing. The brother there, he bring up and say that have a certain scholar who translate the sentence to mean them people there who was the followers of Akhenaten who get exiled out to the lands of like to the northwest of Egypt. And so within the concept of the monotheism and the timing of Akhenaten rulership and whatnot, I feel like if that might be the more likely origin of the people known as Jews. So give thanks for these few words, and I will hear what the other brethren and them have to say. Respect.
Oh my Lord, respect. Before you come in, Rasta Adonis, let me just kind of see that's the next aspect of it again too. I didn't even bring in that part because they're gone a bit deeper than just the Jews. So one would say that Akhenaten is the real Moses. So yeah, and say that he was the one that left Egypt, I guess, with the Israelites. You see how the thing really turned up. I mean, there's so much different philosophies and so around this, So for those of us who are going to say that, listen, man, that Egypt that you're talking about and Israel captivity, that's not even Kemet, Mm-hmm. So then now, when you bring this narrative to them, they start to scratch their head. Then you have another Kemetic king. I think it's either Amenhotep the first or Amos, one of these ones who were recognized as the main person that drove out the Hyksos. And and even he himself, someone's styling him as one of the biblical heroes that would have assisted, I guess, the Israelites out of Egypt. So give thanks for that. Before we come to even King Cypher Selassie, and I see Ras Ison has joined us as well. King Rasai Adonis Tafari. Yes, my lord. Your outlook on the subject area. Who are the Jews? I wouldn't even say true Jews. Who are the Jews / Israelites? Welcome, Rasai, sir.
Yes. Greetings. Give thanks, Rasai Koma, for that, presenting that point of view concerning Akhenaten. We've heard about this as well, and we embraced it in our earlier days, but in looking at chronology, it's not quite. But that's a whole other subject matter, not to what you said, but give thanks for presenting that. As far as who are the Jews, the term Jews, from our perspective today, has one sense of being a religious group. The popular Jews of today often use it for religion and also for a sort of a religious ethnic identity. But if we trace the terminology of Jew, it basically has a twofold sense. Originally, it referred to one who is of the tribe of Judah, of Yehuda, one of the 12 tribes. Then later on, after we get the Israelites, the 10 tribes, Assyria captivity as written in the Bible and somewhat verified in secular or other people's tradition, the Assyrians, we have only the tribe of Judah. And the tribe of Judah now becomes the trendsetter, or the ones who can articulate this whole Hebrew, speaking of the patriarch Abraham, the covenant that came to Israel, to articulate what this means. So then one can become a so-called Yehudi by sojourning or dwelling with the people. I like to present just a few biblical scriptural point of views, because that is where the true ideas of Jew have their significant historical points of reference. However one might view the Bible, still we have like the historical kind of a reference. So when we look at, there's a verse in the Bible that says this right here. I just want to just bring it up right here, where it says that there shall be one law to the homeborn as well as to the stranger that sojourns. Here goes. It's Exodus chapter 12, verse 49. One law shall be to him that is homeborn and to the stranger that sojourneth among you. This becomes the basic concept for what is sometimes confusing to people that on one hand, being a Jew refers to Yehudi and the tribe of Judah. And on the other hand, being a Jew, a Yehudi, refers to some sort of a proselytizing religious conversion. Both of those terminologies, according to the history and evidence, are true. So originally, being a Yehudi was what we would call today being a Jew. The term Jew in Hebrew is Yehudi. Yehudi refers to being of the tribe of Judah. But many ones came to sojourn amongst them from other nations, other religions or other ethnicities, and they took on the culture, the custom, the moray, so forth and so on of the tribe of Judah that became the last tribe of Israel that was still standing, and the ideas pertaining to the ancient faith as well as the documentation, the scrolls, basically was transmitted through this tribe circa AD, New Testament time, so forth and so on, from the Old Testament time. So the idea of being a Yehudi can both be one who is of the religion, so to speak, the culture, the faith. They sojourn, they dwell among this people and have taken on. That's what the term Judaism. We try to address that in the video where the Judaizimo meant resembling or imitating the Jews, imitating the tribe of Judah, living among these people and taking on their ways. I often say it's similar to, in a sense, principally what happens with, one might say, Rastafari, or even certain other elements of Black culture. Other people take on the ways, and even we kind of accept them, honorary or otherwise, as one of us. Although we might not accept that other people, their related family, because they do not dwell among us and they do not articulate. They do not dwell amongst us and they don't articulate our way. So just to keep it simple right there, that being a Yehudi, a Jew, nowadays is mostly religious, although among the European Jews, they also identify it somewhat as ethnicity, loosely based on this religious faith. In ancient times, it was being of a tribe that became the sole survivor and the articulator of the ancient culture. Other people came along and they adopted the ways and mores, and they were considered Jew. My final point here is that Paul, in the Bible, he talks about, he's of the tribe of Benjamin, but he's a Yehudi. He traces his lineage to Benjamin because Benjamin was also said to be one of the last of the tribes. It became one with the tribe of Judah. So when he says he's a Jew, he's a Hebrew spirituality. He's a Jew, religious worship mores of the tribe of Judah. He's of the tribe of Benjamin. And he also had Roman citizenship. I'll just stop right there. Like, we are Black people, Ethiopian, but we also have ID that we can utilize nowadays under this Roman type empire. I yield to the host.
All right. Give thanks, my brethren. Give thanks. I see Ras Kwame, Ras Aisha, and definitely give thanks, my Lord, for coming in. But I know Ras Kwame was with us the previous program, and he had to leave suddenly because of some issues. So he didn't get a chance to even comment on that at that time. And since he's here, and of course, as I said, tonight might be a little short program because we did start late. No one else's fault, really. Forgive me for that. But Brother Ras Kwame, give thanks, my Lord. You want to make an input at this time of the program, or you decide to, and anything you want to put in because you didn't get to speak previous time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But remember, the whole subject is still the same subject, No mind we touching, we narrowing it down, but it's still, even before you came in, I was showing the audience, it's still encompassing everything. Yes, my brother. Pardon me, you don't see me on camera, I'm right here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Greetings to the panel, one and all viewing the audience. Yes, give thanks. The question tonight is concerning who are the real Jews. Am I correct, right?
Yes, my Lord. Jews,
yes, sir.
/ Israelites.
Who are the real Jews? Well, when I look at it, right? Looking at history and so on, if we're going to look at it from a biblical perspective to answer that question, who are the real Jews? The Bible will speak to some people that came from one place and through a series of wars and so on, were able to inhabit that specific place, which I would say it's within Palestine, that region, right? But on the other hand, there are some archaeology that challenge that position. And when you talk about people that make up what is known as the Israelites or what have you, that is labeled as the Israelite, is that these people has been traced on that specific land from since the late Iron Age going all the way up to, the late Bronze Age going all the way up to the Iron Age, and they have seen a continuity of material culture and other archaeological evidence to point to the fact that those people that were there were homegrown and did not come from an expat and came in there. There are no evidence of any conquest of any, so I would say the Israelites, or the label Israelite, would refer to those people who grew up and grow into a cultural people eventually in that region.
All right, okay, give thanks. Well, I don't want to be question, but let me just ask. So you would see that just to ask you personally, so you consider them a real people? Before the item came in, I gave like about 6 or 7 outlooks to this one theory. And that's the next one where somebody will say, well, yeah, man, the Jewish people or the Hebrews, that's the next term. The Hebrews, because it's Jews, Hebrews, Israelites. I mean, the academics that will tell you them is 3 different things all by themselves. One will tell you they have many different Hebrews, because the Hebrew is a language, and many different outlooks. So what I'm getting from the eye, just checking it, that yes, they were, I guess, Hebrews, Jews, but it's not necessarily the biblical narrative of how we have received it, I guess, from religion. I'm just checking. Am I correct?
Yes and no. The fact that it is in the Bible that we first, come to see people called Israel and so on. So to me, it's much, the term Israelite or Jews are like labels that are placed on a specific people. You know what I mean? So I would say, the Israelites are just, it's a biblical thing. It's it has nothing to do with anything in foundation, anything in reality, as far as what the Bible, what the Bible suggests, as far as the stories of the Bible. No, there were no a group of people that came from Egypt and started to conquer the land of Canaan and eventually, planted root and, that, evolved into a monarchy and so on and so forth. No. Fair enough. Before we touch Vice, Cypher Selassie, wish to add to the discussion. I know before we started, you were giving us some of your perspective.
Yes, family, yes.
Share it with the audience, my lord.
Yes, family, give thanks for the opportunity. Yes, well, that's such a great subject because where I come into where I bring my perspective in is I'm very overstanding of timelines. So if the Jews are descendant of Abraham, they cannot be any earlier in history than 1770 BC. When Jacob became Israel and went down into Egypt and the sojourn, and then founded the 12 tribe of Israel, etc. And then comes the story of Moses after that, chronologically, just in the time frame, without putting any date on it. Just at this moment, you're going to say this is the procedure. You've got Abraham, then you've got Jacob and Joseph. Isaac, Jacob and Joseph, and then you have Moses bringing the children out of Israel. That's how the biblical story goes. So it cannot be prior to the time of Abraham, because he's the father of all of this, supposedly. Well, when I look at it now, and then if we're going to jump forward now, that these people become Semites, or what we call Shemite, the people of Shem, or SEM, or Semites, which is pronounced SH, obviously, as the honorable rabbi would say that the S's are pronounced with a sh. And then if we find in ancient Kemet, the history of ancient Kemet, they talk about their ancient ancestors called the Shem or Su.
True.
And these were people who followed the horizon. That's what they call the followers of the horizon, the sons of Horus, the original Horus. So there must be a introduction into this into this, where Abraham come into the picture, and it's only 1700 BC, 1770 BC, where the Ethiopian king, as we keep saying, goes back to 5,500. So where we're going to say we accepted this, I can see a line coming, taking it out of what we call Africa now, the Ethiopian continent. So now, and then we have all of these different people who these modern scholars are telling us have got, like the Igbo people of Nigeria, the Ashanti people of Ghana, the Lemba people of what they call South Africa, or let's call it Central Africa. Central Africa coming down because the Lemba people are in Zimbabwe, in what we call South Africa, Azania. They are in the Congo, the central, they come right down to the central core. So for all of these people to have somehow been migrated from what we now call the Middle East, which we were saying last week is the Arabian Peninsula, where they all have history of being up there, because the whole of the land, way up into Mesopotamia, originally was black people's land. So the real Jews are African people. That's, just to put it in a nutshell, without having to go into too much detail. That's where I would like to leave it, I think. Give thanks.
And before we fully leave it, I just want to, this is before Ras Iceland come in as well, just working on this, pardon me, let me make sure, okay, the screen is showing. This is just to add to the conversation, this is a bit of this is a bas relief that is said to have been founded in Nineveh, and it's depicting 3 Israelite musicians among the prisons taken away by the king of Assyria. Of course, in the story of the book of Daniel, it talks about that. And I know they have several of these bas reliefs that I see from time to time. I've never seen them in any museum with my literal eyes, but I've seen them in different books. And the historians and archaeologists consider that these are authentic Israelites here in these bas reliefs. And I was just highlighting that even for the information that Ras Kwame was putting out as well. So I'm just adding that so we could just add some flavor to the conversation as we look at some archaeological artifacts as such. Let me see. Ras Icer,
Blessed Lord.
Yes, hi. Greetings to all the panelists. Rastafari, love and respect right through. Actually, I just have a set of questions. Perhaps Rastadonia, who laid the foundation of the reasoning, can respond to these. First question, does the other tribes, as he reasoned, the term Jew really come from the Judah tribe? And he also mentioned that the Benjaminites, who are also another tribe, they adopted to that same practice of Judaism. So my question is, does the other tribes have their own religious practice? Do we have any evidence of this?
Okay, is there a time for me to answer that? Does the other tribes...
Yeah, I'm just going one by one. I don't want to throw all the questions.
Have their own religious practices.
Yeah.
Okay. I would say to answer that, based on the evidence, it would seem so. This is why they went into captivity. They broke off and did other religious practices, and this eroded their ability to maintain themselves in the land.
But wasn't there, did they leave voluntarily, or they leave because of they were brought into captivity?
So serious.
They went into captivity like Brother Priest Isaac just presented from some archaeology. Yes, the 10 tribes, the northern tribes that was called Israel, when the kingdom split after Solomon and David, to the 10 tribes in the north, the 2 tribes in the south, and Levites scattered amongst everyone. So yes, those other 10 tribes, they began to worship differently than the ancestral faith. But at this time, Judah was just one of the 12. But after the 10 tribes went into captivity, Assyria, history is very unclear. They seem to have disappeared, so to speak. The lost 10 tribes, they say. And when you ask whether they had their own religious practice, I said yes. Very good question. I said yes, because according to the scripture, they were not worshiping the God of Israel the way that the covenant stated according to scripture. And therefore it was predicted or prophesied that they would go into captivity, and they did go into captivity. That's why I said they had other practices than the ancestral way of Abraham and the Hebrews. But Judah kept to the way of Abraham and the Hebrews. That's what I meant by Judah setting the kind of cultural, religious kind of moray that even their fellow tribe Benjamin became one with them. You know, like culture. I'm including culture in the aspect of religious worship, since it's all connected.
Okay, so then it will be fair to say that except that they were broken off, that they would have also be in the practice of Judaism, that same Abraham Hebrewic religion, so to speak?
I would say that they would have been more in the practice of the Hebrew faith or spirituality or religion, that Judah was the last to maintain that. That's what I'm saying, that the Jew identification is that Judah kept the ways of the old more faithfully than the other tribes till the modern times, you know, the modern historical times.
Okay, respect. Have you ever come across a metaphysical Bible dictionary? Have you ever read one of those?
All the time, my brother, yes.
Okay, so you'll be familiar with the reed and Judah,
yes,
and what Judah symbolizes within
yes.
consciousness.
Yes.
Well,
So,
what's up,
okay.
I don't know if Rasta can give us a little, you know, what.
Rasta son, before you say that, can I just present something that what's interesting about the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, that its method of hermeneutics basically goes into the word and the language and brings out a particular interpretation. But yes, please share with us what you're going to share. Thank you.
I was going there really. I wasn't going to just ask all questions.
True.
Okay.
Thank you for the questions. Good questions.
Based on my read on Judah, because all of the tribes really represent a faculty in the mind.
Correct.
In consciousness. And what they're saying of Judah is that Judah is the faculty that inspire all thoughts of poetry and religion and praises and so forth. The other tribes does not carry that particular faculty. So this is the main reason why everything that pertaining to worship and all godliness and so on, Judah is the tribe that actually espouses that embodies that activity.
True.
Okay?
Agreed.
Yeah, so I wanted to bring that out. One more other question, and perhaps this would connect with what the elder Rasta had said. Do we have any other source outside of the biblical tradition that would reference a Jew?
Okay, this question.
Israelites?
Is this question to I or to Brother Safer?
Well, I say when Brother Safer referenced that, when he make reference to certain people in South Africa and certain other places in Africa. So anyone can answer it. Really.
I can say something quick before Rasta Adonis. Just quickly, because before King Isern came in, when you check back the video, you'll hear Brother Ankoma Dread was referencing the whose tell it is again, King I know yes, and I know the item know of them history there, where it's a bit controversial because some people say don't really say Israel. Some people say it says I made mention of it. I think it's Israel or something of this.
Israel.
So I just putting it on the table,
Outside the Bible, one key reference is a historian who is very much referenced in secular history and regarded to be somewhat as a source for Roman history. They don't have too many. Kind of interesting. For Roman history, there's not too much evidence, but they regard the few people they do have. It's Tacitus. I would say Tacitus. Are you familiar with Tacitus, the Roman historian, who had mentioned that, according to him and his observation, that the people who were identified as, quote, Jew, he said were of the Prolam Ethiopicum, and this is said to mean of the race of the Ethiopians. And we're not saying that they were Ethiopians in the Ethiopian sense, but since Ethiopia also referred to melanated, quote, African Black people, he said that the Jews that he observed at the particular time, I think he lived during the time of the destruction of the Second Temple or thereabout, were of the race of the Ethiopians. This is a reference, outside. And the term Jew kind of is the European way to say Yehudi. I just want to make that kind of point right there. So those who dispute the J-E-W, that's understandable, but that's a translation. But that Jew term is found reference to Tacitus, the Roman historian, in the annals of, in his annals, I forget which volume and exactly where it is, but I can bring it up. I just want to say as one point of reference to roughly the 1st century AD time, approximately. That's one reference.
The 3rd century AD. Around the 3rd century AD, you said?
No, first century AD.
Okay. Respect. Okay, well, what I'm seeing here for the most part, right, is that these terminologies of Jew and Israelites and Hebrew, they are fundamentally they are biblical tradition. The terminologies
if the terminology is used outside of biblical writings, the term itself would have been adopted from biblical writings and applied to circumstance outside of that situation. As you make reference to this Roman historian as well. But there doesn't seem to be any preponderance of evidence, so to speak, of a Jew or Jewish people or Israelites outside of the biblical tradition. Would that be fair to say?
Can I say this to that right there? I pointed to Tacitus because it's within this modern times, the last 2,000 years. But there are other archaeology that has been found going to BC times that do reference within their translation from the language to Yehuda and even Yehudi. I'm pointing that out because if we need BC references, I'm talking about other nations or other peoples referring to this tribe or this people. In other words, Judah as the tribe, as a politic, and even Israel is recorded in the later BC times, like after, coming down to even the 700 and 500 and coming down to the modern common age. I just didn't want to go into an elaborate answer right there, like, stack on more things. But there is archaeological evidence where other nations are talking about Israel after the time of Egypt, after the time of Akhenaten. That's all I just wanted to reference. There is that.
Okay, respect to that. Okay, let me move along, right, to look at some of the findings that, I've heard different sources that bring out this information. Ashrokohesi, people like even Israel Finkelstein. I've seen also S. David Sperling also make reference to the fact that there have never been any exodus. There's no information supporting that there were no Israelites in captivity in Egypt. What would be your position on that? And Ras Cypher can also respond.
Saturday, the 25th of May. Two faiths, two different perspectives. One origin, Ethiopia. Ras I Adonis, Rabbi, Lion of Judah Society. The faithful of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. A scholarly discourse on the subject. Who is the Lion of Judah of Revelation chapter 5? Get your tickets today.
Prosperity is a herbal remedy that has been naturally designed to nourish the prostate gland. Prosperity uses a combination of leaves, roots, and barks to create a tincture designed to nourish your prostate gland. It also will assist in prostate-related issues such as erectile dysfunction, swollen prostates, and problems related to the passage of urine. Call or WhatsApp 728-8289, 728-8289 and get your bottle today. Prosperity.
Some of the findings that, I've heard different sources that bring out this information. Ashrokohesi, people like even Israel Finkelstein. I've seen also S. David Sperling also make reference to the fact that there have never been any exodus. There's no information supporting that there were no Israelites in captivity in Egypt. What would be your position on that? And Ras Cypher can also respond.
Yes, Ras. Could I come in?
Yeah, maybe come in, and I want to say a thing too, but go ahead.
Yes. Before even you ask that question, Rasayasern, I would like to say that in terms of the cultural practices, what they consider to be of Judah or the Jewish cultural practice, and I just want to mention the practice of circumcision, the 8th day circumcision of the infants, and that is an ancient African custom in many parts of Africa, not only in West Africa, it's in East Africa, it's in Ethiopia, it's in South Africa, it's in West Africa. I can't say of North Africa because of the Arab influence in North Africa, but originally North Africa, Libya and all of those places were black African people before the Arab type looking people invasions. So I just brought this up for a reason, is because it kind of extends to what Rasayasern has just said, because when the biblical texts, as we know, are only post-Greek, Alexander the Great's people interpretation, and the Ptolemies, when those people took over the ancient or what we call Egypt, Mizraim. So, and what they're talking about when we're talking, so if we understand that Abraham, at the most, the earliest can be around 1770 BC, and then the Israelites, Jacob, can be 15, can be around 15 or whatever. But then there becomes a, because I say all along that they've got the chronology confused, big time. But because Moses, the Honorable Priest mentioned Moses earlier on. Well, Moses is around 1560 BC. So, and if Moses could be related to Moses, the Moses of the biblical story, that can fit into the Hyksos chronology, because the Hyksos, actually, I think, personally, I have kind of a suspicion that Abraham is the leader of the Hyksos.
The shepherd king.
And when they get expelled, is by Moses, who is a king from the south. When they expel the Moses, I think that is the origin of the Israelite Exodus. So then we get because we get Moses in a chronology, in a chronological time frame. Just putting it out there. I just wanted to put that in there, because this kind of throws spanners in the works. And Rasayasern, I would like you again to, if you could just, because I wanted to get that in before, could you just ask me that, or not the question you posed to Ras Adonis and to obviously me as well. But if you could give that a question again, I'll come off there, and then if you don't mind, put that back to the eyes question, and then let Ras Adonis deal with it, and I'll get back to the context of what you wanted to ask. Thanks.
Okay, well, basically, what else? Let me tell you some of the things that I found in my research. By the way, my position is that the Jews and this biblical tradition, the people who are responsible for creating this tradition, writing these Torahs and so on, are the people that we refer to as European Jews. And I think the way that they did it was to basically adopt cultural practices of older traditions than themselves. They as adapted to it, right? And present that as something that is Jewish. In other words, they have rebranded these practices And their brand has become the more popular brand. And I'm going to show you some example that I found in my in some of my research. They said that there's a settlement of Jewish people in West Africa, in Ghana region. The way they are identified is not by name. They are classified to be Jew for some of the reasons that Ras Sefer put forward, because they were practicing circumcision. And seeing that the Jews are the one, at least to the outer world, that is known for that kind of practice, the natural interpretation of those who found this practice in West Africa is that these people are Jewish people.
Mm-hmm.
They did not take the position that the Jews, remember these people, are way older. The culture is way older than the Jewish culture. But they did not say that the Jews adopted the practice from these West Africans. They put it the other way around to validate their practice. By in other words, that's a kind of trick to place their tradition into antiquity.
Yes.
When they basically make up their culture, make up their brand of Judaism by extracting practices from all the people, cultural practice, and make it their own and put their brand on top of it. They have done the same thing down in South Africa. They go down there and they falsify DNA results, saying that for the lack of the more correct term, they swabbed South African, and based on their saliva, they deduce that they are part of the Jewish people by DNA connection.
Can I come in?
If anyone of you have ever seen the presentation by Ray Higgins, the illegitimacy of the people called Jews, he have explored that in a very, very deep way. And what he has found is that he cannot find anything outside of biblical tradition that make reference to these people no earlier than around about the 6th century.
Can I come in, Bridget?
And his I'm going to give you just a while, Virgin. And his conclusion was that these people wrote their way into history using these biblical traditions. You see? We also know, even from the New Testament era, when we go back and we check the tradition of Horus in Egypt, we find a lot of similarity between Horus, even Krishna, the story of Krishna, and other traditions that are basically a mirror image of the story of Jesus. And these traditions are much older than the Jewish tradition. You understand? So we have to start to consider this thing. We have to start to really consider this closely. Because if we are to work things from inside of the biblical tradition and then seek to look at everything outside of that tradition and say that it is evidence of these claims that are made in the biblical tradition, we really could be misleading ourselves there. Because these people actually adopted even the cultural practices that they have established to the outer world as Jewish. They have really adopted it from a people who is of ancient. And that is the way how they cleverly establish themselves as a group of people, an ethnic group of people who existed from antiquity. I'll go back to S. David Sperling book and the original Torah. And he has this quote in there. If being Jews, right? Mean if the Torah is about a people and events and all such, then he will have to conclude that there is nothing historical in the Torah. Mark you, the Torah is the 5 books of Moses. Because when he breaks it down, I mean, I wish I would have the time that I can read through the book and point out some of the examples in research that he has done. He finds a lot of situations where the stories have been put in date lines, anachronistically placed in time, that they really could not have happened. And so he said he is forced to read the Bible, or the Torah, that's the term that he used, to read the Torah allegorically. Because in his research, nothing that he's finding that support the idea of these writings being historical. He said there is no, it's an archaeology of over 30 decades, which is 300 years, have not turned up anything to substantiate Abraham, Jacob, Samuel, David, all of these names. Archaeology of the past, and by the way, this book was written in 2000, just the other day, 2000. The year 2000, this book came out. And up to that point, he was saying archaeological findings of the last 300 years, taking us back down into the 17th, 18th century, have not turned up anything conclusive about these characters. I'll yield at this point and allow Ras Cypher to make his input.
Yes, give thanks.
Blessed love, I am the Honorable Priest Isaac. I am an official priest within the realms of Rastafari of the Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress. I also hold a certification in the craft of Astronomy from Politecnico di Milano in Italy. Our universe and its makeup has always been an intriguing subject for humankind. Astronomy is the study of everything in the universe beyond the Earth's atmosphere. Ancient astronomy is similar, but pays special attention to the physical and spiritual values of stars, planets, moons, and other celestial objects. It also brings in the terrestrial component, being things on an earthly plane, such as plants, human organs, and connects them to the heavenly bodies. In this course, you will learn the makeup of various planets and stars, how to locate them in the night sky, along with their associated constellations. You will also be taught about the earliest civilizations known for their astronomical comprehension, namely Kush, also known as ancient Ethiopia, Kemet, called Egypt today, the Dogons, and the Bozos, as well as the civilization of Sumer. You will also learn about black holes, their nature and origin, as well as how the ancients viewed them. Ancient astronomy is the mother of archaeoastronomy and astrotheology. Both subject areas are covered by the Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge. Sign up today. Visit our website, priestisaacinstitute.com, or email us, priestisaacinstitute@ gmail.com for more information.
Turn up anything to substantiate Abraham, Jacob, Samuel, David, all of these names. Archaeology of the past. And by the way, this book was written in 2000, just the other day, 2000. The year 2000, this book came out. And up to that point, he was saying archaeological findings of the land us back down into the 17th, 18th century have not turned up anything conclusive about these characters. I'll yield at this point and allow Ras Cypher to make his input.
Yes, give thanks. Well, how I would like to deal with that situation is that I agree that this writing is late, because what I didn't get to say, what I should have said before, is probably, they say, I mean, perhaps Ras Adonis could confirm whether I'm right or wrong in saying it is believed that the earliest texts are around 800 BC. You know, the earliest biblical text being the book of Isaiah is said to date to around 800 BC. Would that be correct, Ras Adonis?
There are some writings that they point to, and they like to say that's when certain fuller compilations, they might find certain points of reference.
Okay.
But, you know, when something is first written, you know, we don't know. You know what I mean? The copy they find. Yes, you're correct.
So that brings us back to what I came in with last week, the chronological model. So even if we're trying to base our history or our arguments on the chronological model, which is based on archaeology, there's nothing wrong with archaeology, but is their paradigm of dating correct? That is the question. The dating, when they date it to say whatever, the Bronze Age or the Iron Age or whatever, is it correct? Because that is their interpretation of the chronology, which I have got I did actually prepare something today to actually more substantiate what I was saying. But if it's 800 BC anyway, let's say that, I can tell you right now, there's been some evidence being found of the prophets in the numbers, Balaam.
All right, Royal family, once
prophet.
again, give thanks. Yes, I really appreciate you coming and spending a moment with me. Those of you who are just joining, you know, we were just revisiting that episode with Rasta Round Table, and I decided, hey, let me just share this with the family. Many ones would not have even seen that episode, and many ones for sure would have seen it, and I'm sure it would have just refreshed you. But again, family, we're looking forward to the 25th of May, 2024. In fact, let me just go straight here and give you some more information as it relates to that. This is a wonderful, it's going to be a wonderful sit down. Let me make myself tell you more about it. Listen up. Saturday, the 25th of May. Two faiths, two different perspectives. One origin, Ethiopia. Ras Adonis, Rabbi, Lion of Judah Society. The faithful of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. A scholarly discourse on the subject. Who is the Lion of Judah of Revelation chapter 5? Get your tickets today.